So welcome, everybody, as you come in. We would love for you to use the chat and let us know where you're from. Let us know your name. Uh, I see a couple of people that have been here before, so hello again. We will get started in a couple minutes. Meanwhile, please feel free to share where you're from, and anything else you'd like to share about UDL, or maybe you have a question about the webinars. And Rob Legary, who is one of our co-hosts today, will put and has put some links in the chat to the UDL previous sessions that we've had. We have a YouTube list on YouTube. We also have a Padlet where you can find previous um, handouts and information about the session. So, hi, oh boy, Sheila, is that right? Did I say it right? Welcome. And please let us know where you're from.
Soheila. Sorry.
Say it again.
Soheila.
Sohaila. Oh, got it. Wow. All right. Thank you so much, Sohaila. We love to know where you're from. We have had people from all over the United States. Hi, Jackie from New York. We have Sohilas from New Jersey. Welcome. University of Vermont. You are doing the watch party again, and I know you've done that in the past. When I saw your name, Susan Marie Harrington, I recognized it. Purdue out in Indiana, welcome. It's so exciting to see people from all over. There's Tom Tobin, welcome Tom, who will be our next presenter in September, so stay tuned for Tom. Again, someone from New Jersey. So please continue to share your name and where you're from. We love to see the wide breadth of all over the US. And you highly recommend the watch party experience. That's great. Yeah, these are free. Tune in and invite your friends, have some popcorn. Maybe, I don't know, some chocolate covered raisins in a box, Raisinets, right? Whatever fits your need at the moment. We're going to get started in another minute here. I'm just going to let people continue to get in. The recording of the sessions are on Padlet and on YouTube, and Rob has just put those links in the chat. And so let's get started. Hi, Carl. Arizona. Okay. Hot out there. I am sure.
Yes, ma'am. I'm probably the farthest west of your guests.
Yeah. So thank you. We used to run a series watching movies about teaching writing that involved popcorn. Today we have a more general snack basket out. Yes, and a general snack basket is good for those that have food preferences. So thanks for that reminder, Susan Marie. Well, let me get started. So this is the 8th in our 9 and 9 overtime UDL 3.0 Inside series. It's sponsored by Goodwin University in East Hartford, Connecticut in the US of A, and our Center for Teaching and Learning. And we are a school that adopted Universal Design for Learning in 2016. It's hard to believe. It will be 10 years come January that we have been digging around, trying to figure out how best to use this wonderful framework for supporting our very diverse student population. Today, we are privileged to have with us Stacy Ibarra Evans, who is the director of the Center for Teaching Excellence at Our Lady of Lake, and that's at the University, Lady of Lake University in Texas. And Stacy directs the Center for Teaching Excellence. She has over 15 years experience in higher education, and she specializes in faculty development, curriculum design, and equity, student equity. She is very much involved in transformative initiatives around teaching and learning, particularly online learning and faculty engagement. Today, she's going to talk about AI designed assignments for student agency, and she'll also weave in UDL 3.0, welcoming interest and identities, that guideline, and talk about choice, relevance, nurturing joy, and really addressing biases, threats, and distractions. So without further ado, I am going to stop my screen share and let Stacy take it up from here. So go ahead, Stacy, share your screen.
Thank you very much, Dr. LaRocco, right? LaRocco?
Yeah, LaRocco.
LaRocco, thank you very much for having me today, and thank you to all of your team for setting this an amazing event up. I know there's been a lot of work in the background to get this thing going, and I really appreciate all you guys do for UDL. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about AI designed assignments for a student agency, which kind of talk about fostering self-reflection and goal setting through the AI software called Gemini. So in the chat, go ahead and drop and let me know how many of y'all have ever used Gemini for anything. Feel free to drop it in the chat. And if you have, what do you typically use it for? I'll go ahead and look over the chat and see what they put. Okay, Gemini Notebook, awesome. I haven't, I've only experimented with Copilot, not Gemini. We use Copilot. I love Notebook LM. Have you used Gemini for what? I've used the deep research function a few times, 2.5 Pro for 2.5 years. I've used it, now I prefer Claude. Okay. Briefly to compare to other platforms, ChatGPT and Gemini as a reference. Awesome. Well, that's a lot of wide variety of people using it in different ways or not using it. So that's really good to know. We're going to start off to see how the room currently feels. I don't know if it's really hot where you are, but over here in San Antonio, it's about 109 degrees, and it's been 109 degrees every day for like the last 3 weeks, which is very hot and humid. I want to know, what is your role? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. And what character are you today from these 5 characters right here? I'll tell you, I'm a number 3 right now. I'm a number 3. We got a 5. Director of Online Education. Okay. Wonderful. Number 3, Jackie, you feel like a 3 too. Okay, cool. 4, some of y'all are 4s. Y'all are superheroes. Adjunct instructor. Yes, adjunct instructors. We're starting all over again for the semesters coming up. I start teaching next semester at SAC in next Monday. Assistant Director of Online Learning, Director of Writing in the Discipline, Senior Developer, character number 3. Adjunct and researcher. You're feeling also a lot of number 3s in the room. Wonderful. It's great to know that the room is really feeling well today. So a little bit about me. I am from San Antonio, Texas. My parents were migrant farm workers in West Texas, and they moved to San Antonio for a kind of better life economically for my family. And so over the last 20 years, I began as a community college student at the Alamo Colleges, Aspen Award-winning Alamo Colleges, and I learned all I could from becoming a facilities employee. That was my first role ever. Working my way up to accounting, and then becoming an advisor, a master advisor, and then eventually faculty member, and then the first person on a team for guided pathways. And through that guided pathways, I was able to become the sole research and current research associate for the Texas Pathways Institute here in Texas, which currently works with the Community College Research Center at Columbia University. So I've been doing a lot of research on a lot of different things. And so my full-time day job, aside from teaching and research, is the director of the Center for Teaching Excellence at Our Lady of the Lake University, where I've been for 3 years. So 21 years in community colleges and 3 years at a 4-year private university. I also do Quality Matters national reviews. I'm on contract with Austin Community College, which is a Blackboard LMS system. And I also do master reviewer for the national company called Quality Matters. My education dabbles all the way from community college, Associate of Applied Science and Administrative Computer Technology, to getting the Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences at the first graduating class of A&M San Antonio, which is down the street from my home. And then my master's degrees in counseling and guidance, and I did a 180. Thought, you know what, I don't want to be a counselor too much. I want to be more of an educational leader. So I decided to go for my doctorate degree in educational leadership with a community college background. My research interests are in online learning. I completed IEOL with the Online Learning Consortium. I have a lot of information and background in first-year experience teaching that. And so a little key insight about this is that combining teaching experience with research really does create powerful opportunities for evidence-based innovation, AI-enhanced education. So a little bit about the background of the work that we're going to talk about today. It's tied to UDL because UDL remains focused on the learner. And so at San Antonio College, I was what's called a Writing and Thinking Institute, a student, kind of a participant in 2022. And so Dr. Lenny Irvin, who's the program lead of Professor of English, reached out to several funders and said, we need faculty development in writing. It doesn't matter what in writing, but we want people to come together, maybe during their lunchtime, and talk about what are they doing for writing. And so for a whole year, every Friday we would meet together and we talk about action research projects when it comes to developing writing assignments in the classroom. So that was in 2022. Fast forward 2 years later, they got a little bit more money. They decided, you know what, for those that completed the first level of the program, let's do an action research project that gives them a stipend to, number one, try and research the effectiveness of a writing assignment in the classroom and then present on it at different conferences. It could be virtual, it could be face to face. So that's why I'm here. I did get a $3,000 travel award in 2024. It's still carrying on right now. And I was able to complete this entire research project over fall 2024 and spring 2025, presenting at the conference, about 8 conferences so far. The last conference I presented at was called Teach with AI. And that was in Orlando, Florida. I think about 20,000 people went. It was so packed and it was an amazing, every session was 15 minutes long because there was so much to learn about AI at the same time. And I'm hoping to go back next year because that's the one conference that I've never been to that I really want to go back to. And so my project timeline began in fall 2024. I learned in August of 2024 that I got accepted, and immediately the wheels started to spin. What am I going to do my writing assignment on? And then everybody was talking at the time about ChatGPT. And then here came Gemini. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to slowly develop an assignment. I'm going to pilot test it in the fall. I'm going to do it again this spring. But in spring, they gave me a smaller, shorter course. The schedule was 3 weeks long instead of 16 weeks. So they gave me what's called a wintermester. So in fall and spring, you're going to see different levels of PGR rates, but it's because the semesters were shorter. And then in summer 2025, I did research and report out. And this grant supports faculty in developing innovative writing assignments. I heard that this was not renewed for the 2025 year, so I was very blessed that I got accepted. A pro tip, these kind of grants really do provide structured support for educational research. And please consider applying for similar opportunities in your educational realm of the woods. Do we have any questions, Robert? I don't know. No? Okay, cool. I saw the chat going up and down. So talking now about
Tom's just asking, Stacy, what
Uh-huh.
does PGR stand for?
progressive grade rate. So at the university and colleges we're currently at right now, we have to be above a 50. And so I'll show you where I'm at right now, but it did take several years to get where I'm currently at. I think SAC as an institution, currently the whole district is at 80%, all the classes combined, which is really, really good and hard to get at. So PGR, productive grade rate, great question. So we're going to talk about Gemini-driven assignment personalization. So we look at this Gemini-driven assignment personalization. Know that Google Gemini is a family of multimodal AI models, which are designed to, number one, understand and generate text, images, audio, and a lot more. We use Gemini in different ways, but in this specific writing assignment, I used it to create engaging, what are called milestones, or like specific assignments that are used with course-specific learning outcomes. So I had to pull up my syllabi. I looked at my syllabi learning outcomes, and I'm like, what do I really want the students to know, and how can I use it in creating this AI-driven assignment? So what I did was each assignment includes integrated feedback, surveys, and rubrics for comprehensive assessment. On the right side, you're going to see that the benefits of this personalization are all kind of geared towards UDL, adaptive learning. Assignments were able to adjust to individual student needs and progress, providing personalized learning pathways based on demonstrated strengths and areas for growth. Increased engagement. Students became more connected, more deeply recognizing their personalized content that related to their interests, their goals, and learning preferences, leading to higher motivation and wanting to get out of college and start their career. And then meaningful feedback. We had some targeted surveys that learned a little bit more about what they wanted to do as far as their student needs were. And then they owned their educational journey. And that's where the student agency came in. So we're going to hear a little bit about 4 specific milestones, and including a final exam reflection. So the implementation framework, first of all, is I had to create the milestone structure. So what that meant was I asked Gemini several times, if I want to create a writing assignment, what is a really popular assignment or kind of structure I could create? And it said to create a milestone assignment. And at the time, I was like, I think I know what that is, because when I used to do transfer advising guides, there were specific classes that the students had to pass in order to recognize that was their major for what they wanted to go for, which is like a specific course. In this instance, that milestone was something that they had to learn to be successful in that class. So the very first one was personal and professional development, reflecting on skills, soft skills and hard skills, goals and career aspirations. The second milestone would take a look at their personal journey, looking at their learning strategies. How were they learning? How were they being able to provide that to themselves? And then leadership models. They started to learn a little bit about leadership in the chapter that talks about leadership based on principles and applications, and they were required to learn about the concepts that corresponded or resonated to their own personal journeys and life. And then finally, the final exam, which is a written part of a final exam, recognize that there were both strengths and weaknesses as a learner, and the students kind of like built on each milestone one at a time, developing increasingly sophisticated metacognitive skills. And this structure supported individual growth and academic achievement. So my critical thinking skill question here is to you is, how do you think the progression from personal development to leadership models to learning strategies actually creates a comprehensive self-awareness framework for your courses? Feel free to drop it in the chat. How do you think the progression from personal development to leadership models to learning strategies creates a comprehensive self-awareness framework? And while we're waiting to see some of your answers, this course was a freshman seminar class. These people were either sometimes 17, 18, 19, and then we had our non-traditional, our veteran students, our developmental students. It was a big mix. So people had different journeys that they wanted to kind of go into. And so those insights were really different. So let me go ahead and see the chat. What do you think the learning goals of the course? Okay. How does the progression from learning goals of the course, identifying self and others, and then the intersection is a powerful framework for self-awareness. That's correct.
So,
Mhm.
so the question is, what were the learning goals of the course? And then, Stacy, just so you know, the bottom of your slides are cut off.
Okay, sorry. It's a really big slide on Manus. I use an AI tool. I'll go to the slides afterwards. It's just more images. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's really good to know. That's just gonna come up pretty soon. I'm gonna go ahead and go over those course learning objectives, which are the course learning goals of the course. I'll give them to you shortly. But how did I begin to create those assignments with Gemini? Those assignments with Gemini were step-by-step process. The same question you just asked me right now. I had to define my assignment objectives. I had to go into my syllabi and pull out those learning objectives. I had to figure out what the chapter content was and the skills that I wanted the students to develop. Then I had to sit down and I had to craft my Gemini prompt. I had to create a detailed prompt that specified assignment type, components, and assessment tools. That looks like this. Create instructions for an assignment that aligns self-assessment and career planning in a slide deck with a feedback survey and a rubric. So how many of y'all would put that many words in a prompt? Feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. How many would y'all put less or put more based on your usage of AI so far? Way, way more. Why, Kevin? What do you think I'm missing? Necessary content? And remember, this is in 2024. This is like about a year and a half ago, right? So back then, we really didn't have all these frameworks we have now for AI. We have these different frameworks that people are using to be able to have a customized fit. Who are the students? What is it? It's freshman seminar. Much more detailed, but the iterative process is pretty effective. Yes. So this was a pretty much primary prompt, which I had to do a lot of work to get into. I had to refine, like number 3 says, and I had to customize. I had to review Gemini's output and then had to keep on giving it more prompts. And there's a lot of trainings out there. The one I'm going to promote that's completely free, but it's about 20 hours, is going to be Caltech's AI course. It's at night. It's from 6 p.m. Central Time to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's about 9 sessions, but they go into deep refinement of using of Gemini, Manus, ChatGPT, and multiple new and upcoming trainings, all for free. And that's where I learned after the fact that I need to provide more detail to my prompts. After you do this, you want to then deploy the assignment and use the integrated feedback surveys to assess effectiveness. The deployment of the assignment was in what's called Canvas. I use Blackboard, I use Canvas, but I wanted to make sure that I kept on enhancing my prompts. As you were saying earlier, Kevin, you need to know things, right? Like who are the students, who are the class, etc. Those are the specific assignment components that we're needing to do. So include a SMART goal component. Add a section on identifying support resources. Incorporate a reflection section. Specify that it should include a vision board. Define the target audience for first-year students, for a business major, for, all these different things. So you were just cleaning it up because it's not going to just be a one prompt shot. You had to keep on providing extended instructions. And then finally, the format of the milestone, which was extremely important to me. I wanted to make it fun. I didn't want to make them all the same way. So example here, in the form of a presentation, as a written report, as an interactive worksheet. So a pro tip is always include a request for a feedback survey and a rubric in your prompt to ensure comprehensive assessment tools are generated against the assignment. Sorry. And I think that we have some.
Yeah, you have some comments and questions in the chat. So, first of all, what do you mean by feedback survey? And feedback to the students, or is it feedback from the students on the assignment?
I'll go back here. So, let's go back here. So on the benefits of an AI-driven personalization, I advise that for UDL, you have to create an assignment that has the following 4 things. And so the feedback survey would be part of the meaningful feedback.
So from the students to you, or you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then
about the assignment creation. It wouldn't be about the assignment specifically, but hey, how did you resonate with this different type of learning? So like UDL.
And then Kevin wrote, I haven't tried to see how documents, including documents in the AI. I actually have personally, and it works really well, Kevin.
Good. All right, I'll keep on going. If anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me again. Okay, so where was I here? Okay, so then going back to the implementation framework, we did that already, and we were here. All right, so this is how it looks in Canvas. I ended up doing a specific module for all milestone assignments so students could find them, but they were due at different times of the semester. This one right here, they were so close to each other because it was a wintermester, and every wintermester class has an assignment every day due. And so it moves a little bit faster. I did provide an extension at one point because the course started on December 25th. And I want to give them a little bit more time for these extra assignments that normally they wouldn't do in a regular wintermester course. So as you can see here, the first milestone was called personal and professional development. And this was a PowerPoint presentation that Gemini said, try this out. This will be able to give you a more progressive learning journey for the student. Milestone number 2 is the reflective guidebook. And it's also called leadership exploration, learning strategies analysis. Milestone number 3 is a leadership models, comparative analysis. And then finally, our milestone, the last one is a final exam. And that's not going to be here. It's going to be in the final exam section. So every milestone built on the previous one, those feedback surveys were on, I'll show you them shortly. They were after the assignment and they were to discuss, hey, did you learn from this assignment? What did you take from it? What did you not like from it? I want to hear it all. And every student talked about what they built upon each one. They talked about individual growth. They talked about how sometimes both milestones sounded too much the same, that they got too much of the same information. The progression from personal development to leadership models. So they learned a lot of different things. They asked me to spread them apart more for deeper reflection and integration of learning before moving on to the next level of complexity. And so they said that it was also good for guided reflection and personalized feedback. So here's milestone number 1. This is the personal and professional development career 3, chapter 3 research assignment. It was a PowerPoint, and the simple instructions that Gemini gave me were, this presentation is an opportunity to reflect on your skills, goals, and career aspirations, and to develop a concrete plan for achieving your personal and professional objectives. I need the following things. And I went on slide 1, 2, 3. It's a bunch of slides, maybe about 5 or 6 slides. And I put exactly what they need to do because they're first time in college students. So sometimes they need a little bit of hand holding. So I said in slide 1, you need your title, you need your name, you need your date. Put a picture that represents your career path. Slide number 2, I want you to talk about your strengths and their areas for growth. And so they went on and on to discuss those areas. I'll go ahead and pause there. Anybody have a question about this first milestone?
I don't see any questions. I think you're good.
Okay, cool. So milestone number 2. So then after the milestone number 1, I did a milestone feedback survey. So I said, hey, to what extent did this assignment help you identify your academic and interpersonal strengths and weaknesses on a Likert scale? And then number 2, I did a career alignment, a feedback survey question, a goal setting question, and open-ended feedback. Really things that you want to get from a first time in college freshman seminar course. And for those who have never taken a freshman seminar course, it's the first course you ever take at a community college or university that tells you about how to find your career path and how to goal set, time management, how to wake up in the morning and really want to work hard for what you want to get in your life. Next one is milestone number 2, which ended up being a leadership exploration writing assignment, which is called an exit ticket essay, which allows them to, in a real life class, get up and leave. So if you give me this, you can get up and leave. I learned about this assignment in that Writing and Thinking Institute. So I wanted to put it in there to show them that, hey, I did learn and I'm taking it to the next level. And so in this exit ticket assignment, I asked them to in order to get out of the module, reflect on your understanding of leadership models and how they connect to your own experiences and aspirations, compare and contrast assignments within leadership, strengths and weaknesses on different type of leaderships. And so for them to be able to explore that, we went on to the feedback survey where we talked a little bit about effectiveness. How did this assignment help you understand those leadership models? How were you able to connect those leadership models? How were you able to increase your engagement with the topic of leadership? Did this assignment help you become more self-aware? And so they were able to give me all this information, and all this stuff helped me to redo my prompt in Gemini because I was getting feedback from the student that told me exactly what I needed to do to put a better prompt to get a better assignment for next semester, which is the semester I'm about to go in right now.
So Stacy, there's a question from Tom Tobin. How much of the milestone activities are designed using Gemini, oh my gosh, and versus Gemini suggesting structures and then you creating them? So the difference between it's totally created versus it's a critical friend. How's that, Tom? Did I do good?
That's a good question. Basically, I use a prompt and I cut and paste everything that it told me, and I took out what didn't make sense, and I left what did. Just straightforward like that. I didn't do too much tweaking because at the time I had the Milestone Pro, the Gemini Pro, which I pay for $20 a month. So it was at a really high level of interaction that I thought was, you know what, this is PhD level. But now it's gone so much higher since 2.5. And so it's got the deep research and it has the ability to ask questions in Canvas. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So this is just the beginning of it. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's another question. Did you feel that students, and this is from Cal, had a good grasp of what engagement means? Did they define it the same way as you, or did they define it differently?
I'll show you some of the milestone feedback responses. I just want to let you know that nobody knew I was using Gemini for these assignments. I never told any student, hey, I'm building all this from AI because I didn't want them to know that I was doing that. I wanted to kind of see first. But now looking back, the engagement level did strongly go up. You'll see with my my grades in my course as well.
And then there's Kevin just popped an article from the Chronicle about changing the nature of authorship and how the documents they process they're differently as they work with AI tools. Yeah, and then there is some feedback on, should we tell? Shouldn't we tell? How's that, Kevin? Did I do good? Kind of a happy balance. What what do we do? And people want to know more about transparency. Why the decision to not talk about it at first? Because you said now you are.
Yeah, now I am. So where I work right now as a director of teaching and learning, it's my job to solely move the whole university of all these different folks towards AI. So in that respective role, I've learned a lot in this past year that says you need to become open with your student because they know when you're using it. Because it will come out in Rate My Professor, it will come out in evaluations and says, and they'll say, hey, I noticed that my instructor is telling me I can't use AI, but I noticed because of the way they wrote and the information that they put in their courses, it totally is AI, the way they're doing their modules, etc. So now I'm being more transparent and saying this is an AI generated assignment. I'm also using digital badging in my courses that says this to clarify it is an AI created assignment to help me in my strategy to help you learn the best in your course. So this is milestone number 3. And this is where you can actually learn how to master learning strategies. And this is towards the very end of the book. There's only about 7 chapters in this book. I think 8 chapters. And this is chapters 5 and 6. And so learning strategies in action, a personal journey, this will help you embark on a journey of self-reflection and discovery. We're taking it towards the end of the book, learning more about how they can chart their course, their learning strategies that they found particularly effective, that they plan to implement in their whole life, not just in the class, how they will explore theoretical foundations of their chosen strategies, how to remember things, how they're able to goal set. It's coming all together now. You've read the book, you've done the work. How are you going to do it? Create a travel log. And the travel log is connecting their real life experiences in their personal life and how they've been able to overcome challenges, achieve goals, and discover new passions. So this specific guidebook, which they could do it in Microsoft Word, Canva, PowerPoint, a lot of people did it in Canva, was able to guide potential fellow travelers, which are students, to help them leverage their strategies to enhance their academic performance and achieve their long-term goals, potentially using this guidebook in my future courses in the day 1 of the start of the course to say, hey, these are my former students. Look how they were able to connect the dots in this course. You will too. Because with the first time in seminar course, a lot of people ask, why do I need this class? Why am I, it's not on my schedule. It's not on my degree plan as far as helping me get to my career. But this specific guidebook helped me achieve that as well. I see a lot of chats coming in. I have about 2 more milestones. Oh, 1 more milestone. Anybody want to unmute?
Yeah, let's let me, there is a question. Yeah, about I lost the question. The milestone structure looks familiar to lifted it from, oh, you already put that in, Tom. Where is it? Here we go. For Stacy, so far you're sharing how you have used AI tools in the design of learning engagement. Will you also talk about how you are designing activities for the learners themselves to use AI in to support or assist in the work that they complete in your course? And then another comment says how appreciative Kevin is of you sharing your own journey on this process of developing and using AI and how, you know, the evolution from not perhaps saying to students that you did it all the way to where you are now. So, but the question from Tom, are you going to talk about, are you using it at all with students to have them learn how to use it themselves?
AI literacy, because my role at Ardeva Lake, I have people come talk about how they're using AI. And when I went to that teacher the AI conference, I also asked people how they're using it because I'm still learning myself. What I've decided to do is in the first module of my course, implement what's called AI literacy. And it's going to go over the fact what AI is. It's going to go over the equity of AI, and it's going to go over the fact that there is different AI tools and for the students themselves to evaluate the effectiveness of them, but not to believe everything that AI says and hallucination wise. But as far as teaching goes, this is where I ended the semester at in spring. I didn't teach in summer. And so I'm coming back in the fall and I'm going to go back to this, primarily sticking with using AI in the course room. But when it comes to teaching students how to use AI themselves, I'm also implementing the AI literacy module in the first semester of the course in the form of quality matters, where you would put it in the resources section.
Okay, so there's a bunch more questions. This is probably the most questions we've ever gotten.
Wow.
And that's really good because questions are good. That means people are interested and engaging. Um, Blue wants to know if you could just talk a little bit about the UDL consideration, which was the guideline, welcoming interests and identities. And explain a little bit more about how that connects to this whole this milestone approach that you've taken.
Okay, I'll step back a little bit. When it comes to designing for UDL, I was looking at the way to provide multiple means of designing engagement because this was extra assignments that were on top of their regular test, their regular essays, their regular PowerPoints that were due. This was extra work that was on top of that. It was an extra grade. And so they didn't know that. So when I did that, I was providing multiple means of engagement, representation, and action, and seeing how they were learning different ways, not only one way, which was like essay based or test based. So that's where I was able to see and address these challenges so I can update the way I teach specifically to address that. And at the end of the semester, I did have a blind student. I did not know I was going to have a blind student. And I had to completely change some of the work again using these UDL strategies for being able to have multiple means of representation. And so it was really meaningful to me to be able to address it the way I did with UDL. Hopefully that helps. Anything else? Okay, I'm gonna go back to the learner agency part of UDL, and I feel like these all these assignments were helping me to identify with the students' self-efficacy, self-awareness, resourcefulness, authenticity, and intentionality. That they knew what they had to do to get what they wanted out of life, and how hard it would be or how easy it would be, and if they still wanted to do it from day one to the end of the semester. And that's what I got with the final milestone, which was the written part. You've now done all this work. Time to reflect. Do you still want to go for the same career you wanted when you walked in that first store, that first semester, when you logged into Canvas? You've seen all these leadership models. Do you still want to be that leader that you used to be, or do you want to take on a different role? How are you staying motivated? How are you learning? What is a sense of lens of cognition? And so that was a 500 word essay, and then a feedback survey to say, hey, how did this final exam help you? How were you able to self-reflect? How are you able to connect the course concepts? And I got a lot of feedback on this specific one, and I was like, I don't know if I did a good job with this one because it was like it's like the same thing as all the other milestones. It's asking me the same questions. But then when I thought about it, I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make them learn this stuff. So I was able to achieve that. And I guess I like that part. So here are the student-centered learning artifacts. Students were able to identify preferred learning modalities. Through these AI personalized assessments, they were able to have structured plans with specific academic career objectives. After they met with their advisor, based on their reflections, they were able to create what are called Lumen portfolios to demonstrate growth throughout the semester. And these artifacts also demonstrated metacognitive skills through AI-assisted personalized reflection, reflective essays, these visual learning maps called guidebooks. And then finally, in the future, I hope to do what are called peer feedback exchanges with this kind of work. I haven't gotten that far yet. Here are some artifacts. This is the final exam written portion. Looking back, I realized that my experiences have shaped me into the learner I am today. I've learned to face challenges, discover my passions, and develop a love for learning. Recently studying with a friend who's taken this same class had a profound impact on me. And this is an online class. We discuss core subjects, share ideas, and support each other. This collaboration has helped me develop a growth mindset, resilience, and a deeper love for learning. Those are all terms that were spread throughout the entire course that they remembered as they wrote this final essay, which means a lot to me. However, I found that attending school in person can be overwhelming, exacerbating my social anxiety and making it hard to focus. In contrast, online courses from home provide a comfortable and peaceful environment. When it gets to the bottom, it talks more about what they've developed research and critical thinking skills in their first semester of college. They've developed a solid foundation for achieving career goals in respiratory therapy. They've also decided to communicate their ideas better and collaborate with others in their chosen profession and take on a mentorship role in a group project. They've talked about how they want to work with conflict resolution skills, all these things that most people don't think about when they're 18, 19, or freshman seminar students. So I feel like taking this away, this was able to provide them more empowerment, more engagement, promote their growth, and take ownership of their own lives. Here's the PowerPoint that they had for one of the assignments. Another student, I took out the name because I have to leave it out. Their academic and interpersonal skills, knowing their strengths and areas for growth. Their key academic strengths were research and critical thinking. They developed strong skills in writing, communication, and excellent teamwork. They were working to develop leadership skills and help guide and motivate others, as well as conflict resolution skills. They created a bar chart to show how their skills have gone up in those areas and how they plan to continue to make them go up. And they've recognized their areas for development, which is academic strengths and interpersonal skills. They also went on to connect self-understanding to their career goals. They've chosen to go into respiratory therapy. They want to use their communication and teamwork skills to help them grow with their patients. And their mission and their life goal is to continue to work with no major adjustments, just to continue focusing on developing leadership and conflict resolution skills, which is huge because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes people that you work with, it's hard to, have those conflict resolution skills every day. So them recognizing it this early in their career path or college path is really important. Soft skills. And then finally, their roadmap to success specified specific SMART goals, which is what freshman seminar does. They want to become a team leader, a better team leader, track the deadlines, keep a to-do list, seek advice from their college advisors, have a time frame to keep track of their program. They want to, within 3 to 6 months, show that they're ready to go to school to become an RT student. So they're looking ahead. They said, you know what? I might not complete my prereqs or meet the academic satisfaction in time, but I'm going to use everything I just learned and become a mentor to learn from other experienced respiratory therapists, online resources, and stay motivated. So they kind of recognize what they need when all else fails, which is super important.
So you have, before you get too far down the road here, there's several comments and questions.
Okay.
So one of the questions asks, do you think universal design for learning would have been more sufficiently addressed if students had been given options? So in other words, when you're asking them about their learning preferences versus styles, because there's a comment about that, about using the word style, do you think, you could put it in a paper, do you think that would have made a difference? And could Gemini have helped with that?
I think I would have recognized that more, doing that more face to face, but online it's harder to see if a student can learn in a different capacity or want to learn in a different capacity. But I feel like if that's what I do in the classroom in an open setting, for example, when I had a blind student, I would read to them versus show them, PowerPoint slides. I feel like that was a kind of something I could recognize in a face to face class. It's much harder to do that online.
Yeah, so I think with the question, let me come at it again a slightly different way. Is so giving choice, whether it's online, I think that's what the question really gets at, but Cal, you could jump in. This idea of choice that, I might prefer to do a presentation versus writing a paper. And that is choices, part and parcel of UDL. So that's a question. And then, so there's another question from Cal. When you say AI, assisted personal reflection, do you mean the students used AI, or are you really talking about the assignments that you were personally able to generate from AI help students reflect?
Yes, ma'am. On the first question, the focus feedback surveys that I got, they did say, hey, these are too many different milestones. If I were to redo it, I would do it this way. And that kind of showed the reflection of UDL. I would rather just pick up a paper and a presentation versus a paper, a presentation, a guidebook. They wanted less.
Mm-hmm.
And the second question, when it comes to AI, it was supposed to be AI designed assignments.
Okay, so what you're talking about is the AI designed assignment, because of the way you crafted the prompt, helped to support reflection.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think I got all the questions. Um,
Hi, I'm sorry. Can I jump in really quick?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this is Cal. I'm the one who's spamming you with questions, so I'm sorry
Spam me
about
away. Spam away.
that. I guess I keep asking questions because I feel like maybe I'm misunderstanding a little bit and I'm really trying to get at Like, I really want to understand your perspective on this.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm just kind of struggling to see like where the student agency side is sort of coming in to the way that like you're using this methodology to develop these assessments. And I'm wondering maybe a little bit if we're operating under different definitions of student agency. So like I come from an SDT background, so like a self-determination theory. So we put a lot of focus on like student autonomy.
Yes.
I don't know if that's like a parallel to student agency or not. But I'm interested in trying to like better understand the student agency aspect.
It's because they're owning their own learning and they're like you said, self-directed. So Gemini is designing this assignments for me based on the course learning outcomes and being able to tell me how they can best foster number one, autonomy, critical thinking, personal ownership of their entire learning process, and then repeat it back to me. How were those stages? How did they learn that? What was their strategy? So coming back full circle, seeing that they were able to design their own learning objectives through these AI guided prompts, through these AI generated pathways, and being able to co-create their own educational experience through that collaboration that I feel like AI helped me with.
Does that help, Cal?
I guess maybe I'm so sorry. I promise I'm not trying to be difficult. And I feel really bad. But I guess like maybe I'm confused because it seems like the assignments that were shown to us are very like straightforward in a way that there are direct instructions and like the modality is specified and like the objectives of the assignment are already determined. So I think I'm confused about how the students are engaging in co-creation.
So in co-creation of the assignment itself, they were not part of that. It was more of the compare and contrast of the actual assignment of the course that was given to me by the school to teach versus implementing these new strategies where students actually had a little bit more reflection and were able to learn more metacognitively by providing themselves this critical thinking where they were able to, I mean, I'll go over this like as an example here. They were able to take the note-taking, book information, the chapters, the tests, the PowerPoints, instead of just doing an essay, they did this specific paragraph that's more of a reflection. It's like a short paragraph that says, you know what, this is the strategy that works for me. This is what I'm telling you I can do. So they talked about how it's more leading and comparing and contrast in the course room versus just doing it, which is like memory of more information. Here's more of more of the way they responded back to me. Like they decided to do, they had the opportunity of how they did the assignment. They had to answer the questions, but they could do it in a PowerPoint. They could do it in a Word document. They could do it in different ways. Does that help out their learning journey? If they want to do a mind map, it's just however they want to prioritize it. That's where the UDL came in. The way they visualize their goals. Let me know if that makes sense.
I think that does get more at the idea of multiple means.
Yeah.
I
Because you can see the slides. They did, some of them did slides, some of them did essays or reflections, some of them did bigger pictures. These are all different people.
okay. Yeah, and then Cal wrote, I think I missed that this was being compared to the original assignments of the class. And then there's one other comment that Bella wrote, being devil's advocate. I think the biggest issue with AI, and so this is an AI issue, is that we, as instructors, might use it to create assignments. The students likewise can use it to do it for them. How do we design, and this is the question of the universe in this day and age, is how do we design our assignments so they are actually doing this work? So AI proof assignments, right? Otherwise it's AI answering AI's assignments and it's unclear. Boy, that gets really.
That's a whole other presentation. But I have if you go to my LinkedIn, I have a link that I created in Manus. It's called an AI resistant pedagogy. And I'll go ahead and send that to them as well. It does provide a tool where you can create your learning objectives that tie into what you're trying to learn and AI proof your assignments. But that's a totally different presentation. So as we talked about earlier, I got about 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna run through it. I tied in my learning objectives. I reiterated and redefined all this stuff. I did have human oversight. I did have the assessment. We did use that PGR assessment. We did have some common challenges. Number one, I only had 3 weeks to do this. Time management was really low. I had a balance learning Gemini while using Gemini, while teaching with Gemini, and also doing my other class at the same time. So I think I taught 4 classes while working full time. So, and then I was also presenting at this at conferences, trying to balance everything. That was a little hard. Student workload management, and then feedback intensity, getting that feedback and responding to those students like, thank you, thank you for giving me this information. My PGR went from 82 to 84. So 2022 to 2023 to 2024. And then I taught, like I said, 47 students in fall 2024. And 2 of them were in the regular semester, and then I had winter semester, and then I had one in the spring, sorry. And then my future directions is for student agency. I want to now do self-directed learning pathways with Gemini, where students, like you're saying earlier, like they can have their own personalized learning goals. So I did learn a lot. Like I said, this was something that I did at the beginning of fall last year when AI was barely coming out. Metacognitive skill building, peer learning networks, agency assessment tools. I want to build all this out because Gemini has Canvas now where you can code and use apps. So I'll go ahead and do a show and tell real quick of how to do all this in Gemini. So when you go into Gemini, what I use as my prompt is to create instructions for an assignment that aligns self-reflection and career planning in a slide deck. You can do a slide deck, you can do a paper, whatever you want. This is an example. And then I add a feedback survey and a rubric and use the following student learning outcomes. And I go to my syllabi and I cut and paste my learning outcomes. I hit enter. And then I tell it to remember the specific components, SMART goal components. Define the target audience. I put for first year college students. I put in the form of a presentation, and then I hit enter.
Stacy,
Uh-huh.
were you trying to show what you're doing because it's frozen with your trying to move your to be stuck on the transition between applications?
Okay, cool. It says your screen sharing is paused. Is there a way you can reactivate it or no?
Do you want to go out and go in again?
Yeah,
I think
just shut it down and turn it back on again. It should help.
Let's see. Can you see it now?
yes, perfect.
Okay. So all I did was I asked this question, create instructions for an assignment that aligns self-assessment and career planning in a slide deck with feedback survey and a rubric and uses the following student learning outcomes. And these are the learning outcomes that I was copying from my syllabi. And then I pasted those outcomes. And then here comes the assignment, which is where I cut and paste it completely. And then I kind of go to Word and I just play with it to see how it works. But as you can see, it gives me the entire assignment. And then it gives me the entire feedback survey. Then it gave me the entire rubric. And then I had to give it to that cohort of people that you saw in the initial email, all the people that were on that list for approval. And then once I got approved by those people, I then put it in Canvas as a module. So it did take about six or 7 weeks to get that going. So from August to September, and I implemented that in the middle of the semester. Some brief information pieces before we close out for the day is that Gemini is always improving. And the best way to look at that is to go to Google Gemini release notes, and you can kind of keep on learning what they're doing with higher education and for students. Specifically, last week, they released Google AI Pro for free for all university students, and they require a proof of schedule, but you'll be able to have this for free as a student. And you can see all the different updates that they've had since they first came out with Gemini. The second thing is there are so many Gemini tools for students and educators that you can use, and a lot of the information that is provided is interactive. So you can kind of see they have Google Classroom now that interacts with Gemini, and there's ways to create UDL assignments, differentiation strategies, all this stuff, almost like Magic School AI, completely free. So feel free to dabble into that. And then the last thing is that there's universities and schools transforming education with the help of Google AI all over the world. There's so many articles out there. Here's a brief overview of those specific universities that are currently doing that, and they're doing a lot of work. And so just to close us out, I did get hired last month to spearhead the University of North Texas AI Conference for Community College Leadership. So I'll be leading that conference in February of 25th and 26th. It's a 2-day conference. Feel free to to let me know if you want to learn more and come out to Texas.
All right. I think we should open it up for more comments if people want to come off mute. That was a lot of discussion, a lot of comments, and that's the best part about doing these webinars is we engage with our colleagues in ways that we're unable to do on a regular basis. So I would invite people to go ahead and unmute if you have more questions or suggestions about integrating AI with universal design for learning, how that might be working in your areas, or questions or experiences that people have had. Please feel free to unmute and ask your questions or pop them in the chat. I'm looking to see if anybody has a hand up. So
Yes,
what I
Kevin.
There's two hands up.
Yep.
yeah, I
Kevin
see
and
Kevin.
Carl.
Yep. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Stacey, thanks so much for sharing what you've done. I think it's really helpful for the rest of us. The thing that I'm wondering about, and if you don't have an answer to this question, that's totally okay. I don't know how many people would have an answer to this question, but what I've been thinking about lately is there are a set of pedagogical practices that are common, and I think that some of that is what we get when we use these tools. They make suggestions that are reasonable suggestions, sometimes applicable to the context, sometimes they're reasonable suggestions regardless of context. There are a lot of very broad pedagogical choices we can make that most of us would agree that, yes, we should be doing those things. These kinds of activities are generally good for students. What I'm wondering about, though, is do the tools bring us to the next level of integrating our discipline specific knowledge and integrating that? Because that seems to me that's where the really impressive things happen in classrooms when faculty go beyond just the generic think, pair, share, active learning kinds of things and really deeply know about how people learn their particular topic. So I'm thinking, for example, like math educators. If you were to ever work with a math educator, they really know a lot about how children learn about math. They learn about numbers and counting and representation, very sophisticated knowledge of where things go wrong, common misconceptions. And I don't know yet, do the tools have enough access to that body of knowledge to be able to provide us with recommendations along those lines that would get at those really subtle, deep, and important things that faculty should be bringing to their classes?
That's a really good question. I only have one answer to that, and it's what I tell everybody, including my faculty at my university. Do not use AI for, like, how you say it, like, to know subjects in their entirety. You are the subject matter expert. You're the one with the degree. You're the one that went to school, right? You go in that classroom and you own it. Everything you've ever learned and everything you've ever embedded into your brain is what's keeping the students in that classroom to learn what you're teaching. And I feel AI is a tool in the way that it provides a little bit of a way to not be burned out. I have a lot of articles out there, if you look them up, that are published about how AI avoids burnout, specifically in lesson development, and assignment generation. But it does not take away from the fact that you are still the subject matter expert. Pedagogically, scholarly, research-wise, everything you do, it should still focus on what you are inside and what you've learned. Have I used Gemini for grading or feedback? I do not recommend you do that for equity purposes because of the fact that we have the students' names in there. If you retract that information, just know it's an open source tool, so it's still going to be in there. Feedback, but without no names, without any names. I think I had two hands up, or was there just one?
Just two, but I can't see who the other hand is. So if you could unmute if you still have a question.
Yeah.
And you've got a big thank you. Sharing these personal stories, as was said earlier, so important. How we how we take this technology and engage with it in ways that are meaningful for our students, for ourselves. And you mentioned burnout for faculty. Yeah, there are things that AI can do much quicker than we can. And with our expertise, I heard you say you take what AI gave you and you retooled it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it gave you an idea and then you took it to the next level. You got another thank you here. Other questions, comments, concerns? If people want to stay on, we'll continue to stay on and happy to talk about AI or other universal design for learning initiatives at your particular place or what we're doing at Goodwin. We're happy to talk with you about that. And yeah, I don't see any more hands up. Right. I'm still looking to see, but we thank everybody for today. This was very robust interaction, which is exactly why we want to do this. And we really appreciate your interaction. And stay tuned for September when Tom Tobin will be joining us. And it'll be very meta. So looking forward to that upcoming webinar number 9. All right. So thank you so much, Stacy. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah.